This is Coach. Looking forward to practice this Tuesday. Just want to do a quick review of some of the lines and spots in the court so we don't have to spend a lot of time going over them. You'll see a graphic here showing half of the court. So just going quickly over our lines. There's a line here. It's called the half court line that separate the two halves of the court. Remember, the important thing about the half court line is when you cross the half court line, you cannot go back across it unless a player from the other team has touched it into that court. Otherwise, we lose the ball. Over here on the sides are the two sidelines. When you go over the line, the ball's out of bounds, and depending on who touched it last, we may or may not get the ball back. Down here is a line. It's called the baseline. Same place, same problem. If it goes across the baseline and we were the last team to touch it, we lose possession of the ball. Depending on where the ball goes out of bounds, we may have to throw it back in bounds either from down here on the baseline or over here on the sideline. You'll see this half circle here. This is the 3-point line. Most of the time we're going to try to play around or inside of this line. You'll see this square here. It's called the lane. You'll see this half circle here. So this rectangle is called the lane. The top of this circle is called, or this circle here is called the key. So player number 1 right now is at the top of the key. You'll see these two squares down here. Sometimes you'll hear coaches refer to those as being on the block. As you see, there's a little block there. If you see this line here where the key and the lane meet, there's a bend in the line. Sometimes you'll hear us talk about it being on the elbow because it's bent like an elbow. And if you look at where players 2 and 3 are, you'll see them being out behind or near the 3-point line at a spot called the wing, like the wings of a bird. You'll also sometimes hear us refer to players by number. So I've got our opponents numbered 1 through 5. Player number 1 has the basketball right now. She's what's called the point guard, usually the team's best ball handler, usually a little bit smaller, but often one of the fastest players on the team. Player number 2 is usually a little bigger than player number 1. She's called the shooting guard. She can dribble the ball pretty well, can usually score really well, is often a little bit bigger than player 2. You may see another player called a 3, which is usually a small forward or a wing. Usually a little bit bigger than player 2, the shooting guard. Can usually dribble pretty well, but may not dribble quite as well. Usually can score pretty well. So up here where our free throw line is, you see their opponent called a 4 or a big forward. Usually a bit bigger than the 3, may not be able to dribble the ball as well, but can usually shoot reasonably well. And then down here you'll see their biggest player called the 5 or their center. Usually doesn't dribble the ball quite as well, but is usually big and very strong. We'll probably try to get most of their shots around here near the basket or in that section that we called block. Hopefully that helps. Looking forward to practice. Go Mustangs.